It's time for the Locals Only podcast with Dixon.
Hey, what's up, everybody? It is the second edition of the new iteration of the Locals Only podcast. I am Dixon, joined today by a young lady who is on the verge of charting at rock radio. You know her, you love her. Her name is Molly Diago. Molly, how are you today?
God, I'm good. Thank you so much for having me. I love 95X, and I've been a big fan for a long time.
Well, I appreciate that. We're a big fan of you. We launched your single, End of the World, which is, like I said, on the cusp of being on that rock radio chart. End of the World is a fantastic song. I really dig it. It's been really cool for me to have watched you grow from this guitar player in a little local band to a young woman that is starting to really make her name in the industry. Like to see the growth from 8 to 10 years ago when I first met you to seeing what you've grown into it makes me very happy. Like, I'm very proud of you, even though I know we don't know each other extraordinarily well. It always warms my heart when somebody I know works hard. Like, that's the upside of social media, is I've been able to keep tabs on you via social media for the better part of the last decade. And you're always on that grind. You're always doing something to further yourself, further your skill set. And I can't wait to see what the future holds for you. And I'm hoping, crossing my fingers, that these next few days that make up the rest of this week get you enough spins to officially get you on that rock radio chart, because you certainly deserve it.
I'm hoping. Thank you so much. And thank you for your support. Like, although I'm not, in Syracuse anymore, I always appreciate it when you pop up and give me that support. Like, it means so much, especially on radio, because like you said, we are so close. And in just a couple of days here, we'll find out if we made it. So my fingers are crossed, and thank you guys. And of course, 95X for your support. I really appreciate it.
Always happy to help somebody born and raised here. And you cut your teeth here. Like, I don't care where anybody lives, right? Like, if you were here and you were active and you participated in the scene, to me, you're Syracuse at your core, right? And
Yep.
I just love the fact that, like, there are artists like yourselves and like SU artists like Rah Rah Riot that are out there and are proud to mention Syracuse, right? Like, even in like the Hollywood realm, I just had a chance to sit with Tom Kenny and Bobcat Goldthwait a couple weeks ago at the Sammys, and for them to just be happy to be back, right? And to always bring up their roots at Bishop Grimes and stuff, it lays a really great root here. And I think we had a little conversation off camera before we got going, but to have a young woman from Syracuse make a mark at rock radio in 2022, I think is like a milestone, right? Because like, we've had some artists from Syracuse kind of break out here and there, and it sort of happens, and then it peters out. But if I know you, and I think I do, this is just going to inspire you to work even harder and make everything even bigger and even grander in the future. I think End of the World is just the beginning of the real nationwide career story of Molly Diago.
I hope so. And it's been a long journey to get here. It's taken years and years. And many of those years were spent in Syracuse, playing at bars like Max Bar, Bad Art Bar, and Armory Square, and, everything. And it's funny, like, and everybody who knows me will tell you, like, I'm so proud that I'm from Syracuse, whether it's boasting about, oh, I can drive in snow, or, my music career, like, everything always goes back to Syracuse. And I'm always proud, and try to get that in anywhere I can, because Syracuse is a great place. And people going out there, especially like Tom, Tom's, he's my favorite. And people like you out there, because I mean, people know you, not, people know you. And especially when I'm doing things like my radio tour, they know Dixon, they know 95X. So I think it's been an honor to represent the city a little bit in my small capacity. And I do hope this is just the beginning, and hopefully it'll, continue on to bigger and better things as we go. But we'll see.
Well, you've had some pretty cool things happen leading up to this as well. Like, your solo release Lifetime features Waylon Rivas, who at one point was in Mushroom Head, who is a Syracuse staple. When Mushroom Head was touring, Syracuse was always on the tour. Waylon is one of the few guys from that camp that I actually had a chance to interact with. He's a really cool guy. And despite the fact that I'm not really a huge fan of that style of music, I was like the guy that ran the club, the Lost Horizon, that they would play. And it's weird because a lot of touring acts don't treat the venue people very well. Waylon was always one of those dudes that went out of his way to like say hello, right? And make sure that everything was cool. And to know that somebody with a heart like that is working with you makes me happy, because like there are people that I would be bummed about if you were to be like, oh, I'm collaborating with so-and-so. And I would just be like, oh God, I remember that guy. Oh, but like Waylon's a great dude. And you also worked with Hugo from Tantric. I remember there was a little something there for a lot.
Yeah.
And that was a while ago, but
a while ago. Yeah. And I think those two guys are on the opposite ends of the spectrum, but yes, Waylon is so sweet. He has helped me tremendously, especially with this release over many years. When I first put Lifetime out, you know, he took me on tour, he did this, he did that. So like, I have so much, you know, kudos and, you know, graciousness towards him and his crew. His wife is great too. And it's funny, he's got this cute little wicked Southern accent. So you hear this guy screaming 1 second and then he's off the stage. Oh, honey, did you enjoy the show? It's very cute. But those folks, you know, have helped me, Hugo too, like they've, you know, it's great when they sort of give back to, you know, sort of younger upcoming folks. So I'm super fortunate to have worked with some great guys. And I mean, they introduced me to a lot of other people that, you know, I was fortunate enough to meet and work with and stuff. So it's really about who you know, you know, and who can sort of, you know, take you under their wing and sort of show you how it's done. So I give a lot of credit to those guys and the multitude of other guys, you know, who sort of have helped me and ladies, of course, too. So super lucky.
I mean, I said this to you off camera. I'll say it now too. Like for me, I think that there is a certain thing that you do that is unique to you. There are so many people that like you hear sing, or you hear their songs and you can immediately go, oh, they're trying to do this, or they're trying to sound like this. And the thing that I've always loved with everything you've done is that you've always stayed true to you. Your voice to me is one of the most pleasing and warm female voices in the genre. And I think a big part of that is because that you sing with such like true emotion and honesty. There's an earnest nature to what you're doing that I think is so appealing. And I know that it's kind of a word that I overuse, but I think that it's more appropriate in this case than anywhere else. But if there was one word that I would use to describe your style, it's charming. You know, there's an engagement because it's true. And there's not so much of that in the world of rock that we live in now, right? Like, so this to me is a breath of fresh air. And as a radio professional that used to live in the rock world, if I still lived over there, this would be a song that I would be salivating over. This would be one that would be on my priorities list to push out there, because to me, this is something that really could change the landscape of rock radio if given the right opportunity, right? Because there's a lot of legendary acts that continually kind of pump out the same sounding thing over and over again. I won't name names because like I still respect anybody that has the fortitude to stay in the industry as long as they have, right? But by the same token, like you can tell when somebody's on autopilot. I've never gotten that impression from you. Every word seems like it's coming directly from your soul. Every note definitely feels like you feel that note as you're playing it. And like I said, that honest nature to what you're doing, the truth that stands behind it is what separates you, in my opinion, from a solid 95% of the other artists at your level that are trying to make it at rock radio right now.
Well, you're going to make my mom cry when she watches this, because that was one of the nicest compliments I've ever gotten. Thank you so much. I mean, it's hard to be unique in a sea of, like you said, a lot of the stuff is similar, and it's like, how do you break through, when everything is so similar? So I'm fortunate to have a great producer, Sahaj Tikatin, who is from Raw. He helped me out with this, and it was phenomenal to work with. And it was really a balancing act of, okay, you're unique and you're different, and that's great. But also you kind of have to put a little bit, it's like, a recipe of, what is in rock right now, which, like you said, it's heavier. It's not what we sort of expected, and sort of push it out there and hope that it works. So, I mean, this song was just a culmination of a lot of different ingredients, I guess we'll say. And my voice is different. And also the thing about my voice, like, as you said earlier, like, I was a guitar player for my whole career. So to step out away from the guitar to just sing, like, it was scary. And honestly, the first two things I ever put out were both duets. And part of it was because I wasn't confident. I thought I sounded weird. I thought it was different. But maybe different's a good thing. And I'm, trying to learn to embrace it. And like you said, hopefully that the public, likes it enough to keep me in there and keep me in rotation, and maybe even inspire other artists to, go outside the box a little bit, if it works. So it's a mishmash of things, but I super appreciate. That's a really nice compliment. I really appreciate it.
Well, I think the sky's the limit for your career at this point. I know that you're always working. So my question to you is, what comes next, right? Like, what does, the next few months are obviously going to be focused on End of the World. The video is out now. Just search Molly Dago on YouTube. It'll pop right up. It's a cool little lyric video. I really enjoy what you've done with this, right? Because like it steps away from that thing that's happening at rock radio where it's dark and it's like there's a light and there's a demon and there's this and like it's angry. There's nothing angry about this. It's just you writing and performing a song that you feel, and that translates to the listener, because like, and this, so I don't think you're going to take offense to this, but this isn't my style of music. Like, this isn't what I put on when I'm sitting down to listen to music. But as somebody in radio who is paid to like listen to 100 songs a week and pick the 12 best ones and play them, it hit me in a way that I wasn't expecting it to, right? Like, I remember I got it in, I didn't even get it for the first time from you. I got it from Tim, our mutual guy. He sent her, he was like, hey, this girl's from Syracuse. You might know her. Check the song out. And I saw it was you, and I was like, oh. And I put it in my pile. Like, I'm going to listen to this at the end of the day, because I don't want to listen to it with the rest of the stuff. Because like, I get in a certain headspace where I'm listening for a certain thing. So when it comes to like people I know, I try and listen to it in an isolated place so that I can really just go, okay, cool. I didn't just listen to like 4 indie pop bands and like, like I want to be able to sit with it in a way that like I can be unobjective. Right. So I can go at it without a preconceived notion. And I remember like just sitting down and being like, all right, cool. Like, it's Molly, so it's going to be good. Like, let's see what she's up to. And I put it on, and like the minute the vocal kicked in, like, you had me, like, immediately. It was just like this thing that, and I wasn't expecting it. Like, if we're being totally honest, like it just caught me in a way that like a lot of things don't anymore. Like a lot of the female oriented stuff that I really enjoy is like strangely like in like the really vulgar hip hop lane, like Ashnikko and PP Cocaine and stuff like that. So like, the more traditional stuff, like, and I love things like Bishop Briggs and Beach Bunny, and Wet Leg is another phenomenal thing, but they all have their own unique little niche because they exist in a world outside rock radio. So for you to come at this with such a warm approach and such an honest approach, and more of like, I dare say, singer-songwriter approach, was really refreshing. And it was one of those things where I immediately felt like more people needed to hear it. So we added it immediately to locals only. I think it will probably migrate from locals only into my specialty show, The Fringe, because I think that there's not very much difference between you and a young lady from Rochester who has also migrated away from upstate New York to LA. Her name's Lyle. I think that there's something there with both of you where you're writing rock songs, but much like, and I'll use Rival Sons as a great example. Talk about a rock and roll band, right? Rock radio doesn't play them. Alternative doesn't really play them. where's their space? I think that you fall into that as well. And I think that, like, ultimately, at the end of the day, and I'm saying this on a podcast brought to you by a radio station, that maybe, just maybe, radio isn't the end all be all for young artists, with streaming platforms and the availability of connectivity with the supercomputers that we all, predicted in the 80s. Like, you can connect to anybody in the world on this, right? Which means that everybody in the world can find End of the World and listen to it and enjoy it. And your streaming numbers are fantastic for your catalog that's up and available. I know those numbers are going to grow as more people hear the song. I feel like I feel like I'm recording an infomercial for you. And
it's a good one.
I swore awesome. I wouldn't do that, but like, it's encouraging for me to see a very talented young woman make her way to the forefront of a movement that is not typically accepting of a strong young female, right?
Sure.
Like,
yeah, and once again, appreciate the kind words. And you have to have a little bit of luck, I think, but a lot of it is sort of knowing your audience and knowing how to grow to those same types of people. And I hate to use the word networking because it's stupid, but I mean, you have to be willing to assemble the right team of people and know your strengths and know your weaknesses so that you can fill in the gaps. And so that's sort of what I did. And I'm really impressed, with how it's turned out so far. And like we said before, hopefully it's the beginning of, something great. So, I mean, we'll see. And as we said, off air, if you're selling tickets and people are coming to see you, that's what counts. If you're touching people through the music or whatever, and they're streaming your songs, that's what counts. I mean, radio is great. I'm so thankful that we're doing, good at radio, but better than expected. But as you said, like, if we're reaching people with this music, that's all I care about. If we're reaching people and people are, hitting play today or tomorrow or the next day, like, that's what counts to me. So I've been really thrilled, with how everything's shaken out. And, of course, everything tracks back to Syracuse.
Yeah, I think, for people that are from here, it's hard to cut those ties, right? Because, everybody has that same mentality of, well, you don't know because you don't live there. And I've been fortunate enough to not only travel the country, but travel the world. There's only a few places left that I haven't seen that I need to check off my bucket list. And I can tell you, having been in 47 of the 50 states and every major market on tour, whether it was as a tour manager or artist, whatever I've done in the past, that there is literally no other place like upstate New York.
No,
like, there is a mentality here. There's a nature to the people that live here, right? Like, and you can blame it on the snow. You can blame it on being part of the Rust Belt and the fact that the industry's left. You can blame it on the polluted lake or whatever it is. But we are relatively unique in our composition, those of us that were raised in central New York specifically. And I think that work ethic that lives in you and exists is due in part to growing up here and seeing that, like, how industry left and we became a retail town, right? And like, everybody always said, oh, it's a blues town. And then hardcore came through and was like, no, it's not. Here's Earth Crisis.
Sure.
We're on network television now, right? Like, and I think that, in a weird way that, like, like the obstacles that exist in central New York are what make us all the hardy people that we are, right? And I see that in you. It makes me so proud to have you out there doing this. So my last question before I let you go, because I know you've got so much on your plate these days, what can we expect for the remainder of 2022? I assume that you've got more songs currently being crafted. Is there any chance of seeing you in a live setting somewhere in central New York before the end of the year? I'm opening the invitation that since we seem to be moving past COVID, I have a really dope performance space at the studio that if you were to be in Syracuse at some point, I would love to have you come and play, and we could do a little basement session and show that to the world.
Oh, I'd love to do that. I will totally take you up on that offer because I'd love to even see the studio. I've never been down there before, so I'd love that. Yeah, so we have more music. I have another single that'll be out over the summer, and then a record coming in fall, which is super exciting. Hopefully everybody loves it and continues to support. I deeply appreciate everybody. And actually, we sort of assembled this tour. I'm stopping off at a bunch of festivals, and one of them is in Central New York. It's called Fox Fest, which is basically a huge party out sort of in the middle of nowhere, but close to Syracuse. I think it's like 10, 15 minutes from downtown. And I'm actually going to be playing with Tantric. And Tantric, the lead singer, is Hugo. We do a song together, so you might get to see some fun stuff like that. So tickets are on sale now. Also, that event, I can't say enough about it. A lot of the proceeds go to a local charity that I used to volunteer with when I was a kid, called Keys. It's all about music. So I'd love to see some faces out there. Every ticket gets a free t-shirt. So come on out to Fox Fest. August 6th. It's Syracuse, but like I said, it's out in the countryside somewhere. I don't even really know where, but hopefully it'll be a great time.
Very cool. Well, I'll make sure that I catch up with you before then, so that we can actually get the word out once again, remind people. I know that event usually does sell out in advance. Yep. So if you do want to see Molly, if you do want to see Tantric, if you do want to see that whole lineup, if you just type in Fox Fest into your search bar on Facebook, it's the first thing that comes up. So follow that link. And while you're there, also check out Molly's artist page. It's Molly D'_AGO. Follow that. Follow her across social media. I know that you're active in the social space. And hey, listen, I know that a lot of people listen to and watch this podcast from outside of Syracuse. So do both of us a favor. Do Molly and I a favor and call your local radio station. And if you're in Syracuse, you can call me. I'm on every day from 2 to 7. And I'll make this pledge, right? I'll say this right now, that if I get enough requests, I'll just play the song. I'm the music director. I have that ability. So call me and support young artists like Molly. But if you live somewhere outside of Central New York, call your local radio station and say, yo, I know this girl. Her name is Molly Diago. She's got this great single. It's about to chart. If you spin it, you could help her. And talk to those DJs and get them to play this song, because it's very rare that I jump on something that isn't necessarily within my realm and want to see the success that I want to see for you, because really, 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 I mean this with every ounce of my being. You deserve it.
Thank you so much.
You're so hardworking. You're so talented. And I know the obstacles that you have to endure, without, getting into a crazy socio-political dialogue about it, but like it's think about how hard it is to be an independent artist or a local musician, and then take in like make yourself female and understand how much harder that is, right? And I know that like there's like these memes that go around that say you shouldn't use that word female, but like it's the truth of the matter, right? Like I could say lady, I could say girl, but I think girl is more disparaging than female in a lot of ways, because you're a young woman, right? Like, and I also know that there are pronouns and stuff now. So like, I'm just saying that as a female artist in 2022, it is no easier than it has ever been earlier. Like we would expect for it to be, right? Given, hey, it's Women's History Month right now, right? And women have like all of these things, and there are all of these upper echelon female artists that are making it, but somehow there still aren't enough, right? Like for every Billie Eilish that cuts through, there's 4 or 5 male artists that also get to that level. So like there are a lot of talented female artists out there. You are one of them. I would love to see more young women step in and take the industry over. And hopefully at some point y'all will, and we can right the ship, balance it out, and get rid of a bunch of the crap that happens. And then, like
we'll be good to go.
Yeah, I think that's my new goal. That's my new goal is
I love it.
Is to somehow figure out a way to make women more empowered within the music industry.
I love it. I love it. And once again, I'll say it, and I'll say it all day long. But thank you for everything that you do. I mean, not only on that front and, supporting people like me, because I really appreciate it, but also like local music. And I think anyone listening to this, and I know that this has a big following with local musicians, and it's the highlight of their life, to be included in your locals rotation and to be on this podcast, like giving people like me and people local to Syracuse the time of day to experience this, it means so much. It means so much. And even if this is, I mean, for this is the highlight, of my career and a lot of others. So I really appreciate your support, from the bottom of my heart. Syracuse, I love you so much, and I can't wait to see you. But like I said, Scott, so much thanks to you and everything you do for, people like me and everybody in Syracuse. We really appreciate it.
Well, I will simply say that there are no thanks ever necessary, right? Like for
But
me,
you deserve it.
I see
You
myself as a
totally do.
conduit between the artist and the end user, the audience, right? And I said this to you before, I'll say it again now because I can't say it enough. When you get to a certain level, you've obviously through hard work gotten there, but at the same token, somebody opened a door for you or helped you up. When you get to a certain level, you have to like then open the door for somebody else, right? And you have to
Absolutely.
do it with enough confidence that like, hey, I'm opening this door because I want more people to share in this with me. Like you can't look at it as, oh, if I let the door in, if I let somebody else in the door, like I don't shine as bright.
I'm gonna get it right.
And I think that's most people's attitude, where for me, it's just like, I wouldn't be where I am had people not supported me when I was younger and I was hungry, right? So for me, it's just like, I know what it feels like to sit where you sit. So for me to be able to fulfill any little bit that I can to give the shine to somebody is, I mean, it means as much to me as it means to you, right? Because like for me, I've been the champion of the underdog my entire career, right? Like there's always been these bands that get all the gigs and get all the money. And then there was me over my little weird dusty corner taking all the misfit kids and their really cool bands that didn't get any attention and just shining a light on it and in the best possible way I could. And then, like somehow the crazy guy made it to corporate radio and figured out a way to like eke out even more space. So here we are, broadcasting to the world these artists that deserve attention. And for you, I know you're in Boston, but you're Syracuse born, you're Syracuse bred. You'll always be a Syracuse artist in my heart and mind. And
Me too.
For me, ultimately, at the end of the day, it is not only like my job, but I consider it my duty to go out and find these artists that don't have, and I'm not speaking to you because you've always been, out there and doing your thing, but like there's a lot of young artists that are afraid to even reach out to me. And I get that. Like I look like this and, I've been doing this for a very long time. Right. Like, but like the thing I'll say is this is like, I'm not nearly as scary as I look, and I'm willing to help anybody as long as you're willing to help yourself. And Molly, you are a phenomenal example and, in my opinion, a role model for young artists to follow. If you haven't done your research, look back, because this young lady has been at it for almost a decade. Guitar player, singer, constant reinvention, constant evolution, constant artistic growth. We see it, and we're all very proud of you. And I can't thank you for taking the time to sit and chat with me and our audience today. We wish you nothing but success in the future. MollyDiago.com. That's Molly, DAGO.com, to get tour dates. There's even a link there for Fox Fest if you want to cut out the middleman and get that ticket to see her here in Central New York. I look forward to single number 2. I can promise you now I'll rock that one too. And
thank you.
I may even I have to check my schedule because there's a million shows in Syracuse this summer. But if I'm free that day, I'm going to come out and I'm going to come see you play.
Heck yeah, come. We'll hook you up. Thank you again so much for having me. I really appreciate it. And, the same goes for all you Syracuse people listening. It's my turn to give back the love and help. So anytime, I'm happy to be a resource, for anybody, because I'm so passionate about Syracuse people getting out there and doing great things, just like you are, that, any way I can help, I'm happy to.
Very cool. I appreciate you. I appreciate your time. This is the Locals Only podcast. It will be back next Thursday. And my guest next week will be Keith Cavaleric, who you may remember from Johnny Vegas. But Keith has a brand new solo record that drops on April 1st. And we're going to debut a song this Sunday on Locals Only. And you'll also hear Molly's single, End of the World. So as far as Locals Only land goes, we'll see you Sunday at 11. Molly, thank you again.
Thank you so much.